Alright, so we have made it to the trade deadline, and despite me playing well in these last few games that I've shown, the team has not been playing well in the sim, so the Giants are no longer in the hunt for the playoffs, unfortunately, so we are going to be making a couple trades, sending guys off on one-year deals or the last year of their contracts off to contending teams. So the first trade we made was Tyler Anderson, who we signed to a 2-year deal. He is now in the final year of that deal. He's been a consistent 3-4 in our rotation for the past couple seasons, and now he is going to be sent along with Nick Allen to the Cincinnati Reds in return for right-handed pitcher Sheldon Trevino. Like I said, Anderson has been a consistent number 3 or 4 pitcher in our rotation, and now the Reds are still in contention for a playoff spot, so they are going to be using Tyler Anderson in their rotation now. While Nick Allen was a throw-in in the Madison Bumgarner trade for us, he's a great fielder, can't hit, still a B potential 22-year-old, so he was thrown in the deal to just make it work with the potential and the value. And the prospect we get back is Sheldon Trevino, who is a 20-year-old B-potential right-handed pitcher. He will be getting his own prospect profile probably next season. Trade number 2 of 3 that we made at the deadline is Tyler Lyons, and Luis Sardina was sent to the Los Angeles Angels in return for infield prospect Leonardo Rivas. Lyons has not had the best year for us, but he is still a veteran lefty reliever with potential to do well, so playoff teams can always use another reliever, and the Angels are a team that is in contention for the playoffs, while Luis Sardina is a guy who just has multiple years of team control. He's an older prospect. He has had some time in the big leagues, but he hasn't really had too much time in the big leagues to really prove himself. Was not going to get any time with us, and he is in the deal since it would not work one-for-one value-wise, so he was in it to push the value up and make it work, while Rivas is a 23-year-old C-potential prospect infielder. He has incredible discipline, he's got pretty good fielding, pretty good speed. I very much like his discipline. That is the main reason why we traded for him. I have had my eye on him for quite a few seasons now, and we are finally adding him to our organization. And the third and final trade that we made at the deadline was Johnny Cueto. Now, this is a trade that is being made more so to open up another spot in the rotation for Jay Groom or Braylon Marquez, more than it is to go and get some insane prospect because Cueto has been pitching well, because as we know, Johnny Cueto has been pitching very well this season. He pitched a very good season last year as well, and even though if this was real life and he's pitching this well, a team who would be trading him would be able to get a pretty decent return for him because he's pitching so well, but this is not real life. The game just sees that he's making $22 million, they see that he's 35, and they really restrict what you can get back for him, so we didn't get too much back for him, plus you definitely have to take on another big contract to make the money work, because you can't decide to just pay half of it or whatever. And that is where Kyle Seager comes in the deal, because we have sent Johnny Cueto to the Seattle Mariners, who are a team who are on the bubble, but they are still in it right now. They need to have a good month of August, really. They need to have a very good rest of the year, and they are definitely not going to be doing that with their current pitching staff, because after their 1-2, it really, really falls off. So Cueto adds a legitimate 1-2-3 to their rotation, and even though Kyle Seager is technically having a pretty good year stats-wise, he hasn't really played too much. He's coming off the bench for Seattle, and statistically, ever since 2016, he really has not been that productive at all of an everyday player. So we get Kyle Seager, they get Johnny Cueto to hopefully help them get to the playoffs. They're not going to give up a ton for him, as the prospect we get back in return is Cesar Izturis Jr. He's nothing too special. He is still only 21 years old. He is a switch-hitting, C-potential infielder. He could be something after a few seasons of development, but he's definitely not close to the big leagues, and he does need quite a few seasons in the minors to develop. And Kyle Seager will just probably be filling a bench role for us for the rest of the season. I doubt he sees much playing time at all for the rest of the year with the Giants. And now it is time to sound the alarms, because we are going over some AI trades, and boy, there are quite a few ones that are going to make you cringe. So first one on the list, starting from the earliest one that we have available to look at, the Twins get Isaiah Kiner-Falefa from the Rangers in return for outfield prospect Akil Baddoo. The Mets and the Blue Jays swap outfielders, and Teoscar Hernandez goes to the Mets and Alexander Palma goes to the Blue Jays. The Red Sox make an in-division trade for another veteran first baseman having a mediocre year in Trey Mancini. They've had Justin Smoak playing first base for them. Well, I believe they still have Steven Pearce, and if they don't, he really hasn't been any good for them. But Justin Smoak's been their first baseman. They make a deal for another first baseman in Trey Mancini, and in order to get him, the O's get Beau Burrows, who the Red Sox got from Detroit last season for a group of 3 prospects. And then the Red Sox also made another in-division trade with the Blue Jays. They pick up relief pitcher Yimi Garcia, however you say his name, from the Blue Jays for 2 prospects in return. The Rays, who have been very active at this deadline, as we will get into, get Nicky Delmonico from the Chicago White Sox, while the Braves and the Rangers were also another team who was very active at the deadline, probably making the biggest deals, as the Braves and Rangers make a 1-for-1 swap. Pretty equal talent, I would say. Nomar Mazara goes to Atlanta to fill a right field need for them. And then Luis Gohara, one of the many, many potential starting pitchers that the Braves have, was sent to the Texas Rangers. The Rangers also pick up Danny Valencia from the Pirates for shortstop prospect Diosbel Arias, however you say that name. I'm sure I'm butchering it, as I'm also butchering the word butcher. And then the Rangers also completely cheese the Tampa Bay Rays with Tyler Austin's potential for Brent Honeywell and a third base prospect. The Rangers, you may be asking yourself, well, how did they get Tyler Austin? You traded Tyler Austin to the Blue Jays at the start of spring training, and that would be correct, but the Blue Jays apparently DFA'd him sometime. I don't know when they did that, but they did. I guess he didn't have the greatest start to the year for them, so they DFA'd him. And then the Rangers picked him up, and since he has an potential, and that's literally all that matters in the trade system in this game, they completely cheesed the Tampa Bay Rays. And now, as a result, the Texas Rangers now have a lot of really good young pitching prospects. Or not even prospects, a lot of these guys are in the big leagues for them, so the Rangers do have quite a good young pitching staff now, or at least one that has the potential to be very good. The Red Sox pick up another reliever to help out their playoff push as they pick up Silvino Braco from the Arizona D-backs for second base prospect Brett Netzer. And then the Rays, who were also very active this deadline, trade their young first baseman, Nathaniel Lau. I know they have Brandon Lau, Nathaniel Lau. They're both spelt the same way, pronounced different ways. I don't know which one is which. We're just going to pretend that we're just going to cover the bases for both of them. Lau, whatever it is, sent to the Marlins for Cody Ashe. I don't really know what that deal is. Young first baseman with pretty good potential for Cody Ashe. Interesting deal. Marlins actually look to win a trade for once. And then the Braves also pick up a all-star reliever in Thomas Pannone, however you say his last name, from Toronto, who has been an all-star reliever for the past 2 seasons, for catcher prospect Miguel Santiago, who is going to be their starting catcher, as we'll get into later on in the AI trades, because they made another trade. Well, actually 2 more, because one of them that they made was the Jays then trade their current MLB catcher to the Angels for Kevin Maitan and pitcher Chris Rodriguez. So that is why Miguel Santiago takes over at catcher, while they get a potential prospect Kevin Maitan in return for their a potential catcher in Denny Jansen. And then the Jays proceed to make the dumbest series of trades that I've seen in quite a while. Strap in for this, because Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is no longer a member of the Toronto Blue Jays. He has been sent to a team within the AL East, in the Tampa Bay Rays, who is a team that has made some very questionable trades this July. And now they are over here just getting Vladdy Jr. from the Jays for Matthew Liberatore, Wander, however you say his first name, Samuel Franco, and a potential prospect who's still very young, very high potential, and Austin Meadows. And then, the Jays then proceed to trade that A potential prospect that they got for Vladdy to the D-backs in return for Kevin Cron, who is CJ Cron's brother, and Kevin Cron is a C potential, mid-20s prospect with okay at best ratings. I have no clue what the Jays are doing. And then the Padres also made 2 deals as they shipped off 2 guys on their team because they are the last place team in the AL West. Jose Leclerc, who they got because they ripped off the Rangers in the offseason from Season 1 into Season 2, has been sent to the Nationals in return for 3 prospects, and they also shipped off Matt Strahm to Pittsburgh in return for 2 prospects, one of them being Travis Swaggerty, who I'm pretty sure is a decently good prospect, which, like I said, it makes sense that they would pick up a bunch of prospects because they are in last place in the AL West. Alright, so now that we are done recapping the mountain of questionable deals that was, let's actually take a look at what our roster looks like post-deadline. Shane Peterson is currently on the IL with elbow inflammation, so that means that Gilberto Fuentes is back in the big leagues. He was playing the best in AAA between him and Seth Beer, so he gets the call up to be the everyday first baseman against right-handed pitching, at least until Shane Peterson is back. Well, the lineup against lefties hasn't really changed much from before the deadline. And then if you take a look at the pitching side of things, Braylon Marquez and Jay Groom are both in the big league rotation now, while the bullpen looks exactly the same as it did before the deadline. Also, it's worth mentioning that we did make a mid-season extension, as Aaron Altair has been so good this year that we've committed to him for 2 more seasons. He is currently 30, so we have signed him through his age 32 season. He will be making $5 million next year and $5 million in 2023. Hopefully he can continue to put up similar production that he has this year for us. And now, let's finally hop into some post-trade deadline games. The Giants travel out to Seattle to take on the Mariners, who have somehow lost a bunch of games in between the trade deadline and now, making them even worse than us currently, while Jay Groom, the lefty from Barnegat, New Jersey, will be making his Major League debut, taking on the right-hander in Max Pavsey, making his second start of the year for the Mariners. Giants line up 1-9, there you have it, and then the Mariners line up 1-9. We'll start things off with Gilberto Fuentes in the top half of the second inning. 1 out, 0-1 count. He's hitting a laser to dead center field. That's going to just get straight out of here. Absolutely pulverized on a line into those seats. A solo shot from Fuentes makes it a 1-0 Giants lead. Top half of the third inning now as Brandon Crawford's going opposite way for a base knock. After that, Robbie Grossman is going to hit a ball a long way. He is going to hit a no-doubt shot into the right field seats for a 2-run homer, and the Giants now up 3-0 in this one. Bottom half of the third, Jay Groom on the hill gets a ground ball. Ryan Schimpf playing second base on the day, making a dive-in play, and then firing out the runner at first base. Then Daniel Vogelbach would ground into a inning-ending ground out over to the shortstop Crawford. So top half of the fourth now, Ryan Schimpf hits a long, towering fly ball to center field, but Malik Smith is going to make the catch right at the wall. Next batter up, Fuentes, is going to hit a ball to the same part of the ballpark, similar trajectory as Schimpf, and similar result. Then with 2 outs, Peter Mooney is going to go opposite way, bloops one into left field for another hit for the 5'6" hit machine. He's on first base. Kyle Seager then comes up against his former team, whiffs through a curveball, pitch gets away from Narvaez. Mooney moves up to second, and then Seager, with a 2-2 count, hits a ball into the left center field gap that'll get over the head of Malik Smith, drives in Mooney, and it's now a 4-0 lead for the Giants. Bottom half of the frame now, as Malik Smith tries the bunt for a hit, but he hits it right back to the pitcher Groom, who makes the easy play. Keith Cloud, one of the young players on the Mariners who has been very good this season, hits the ball down the right field line for a double. He's in second base, standing up. So runner on in scoring position with 1 out, as then Narvaez would ground it to first base, and Mitch Haniger would then ground out to second as Ryan Schimpf makes the very nice play. On to the bottom half of the fifth now. Mike Moustakas with 1 out is going to hit a ball in the air, a hanging curveball that he somehow does not get all of, as it stays in the park somehow, so he only has a double. So Moustakas in scoring position. After that, it brings up Addison Russell, who grounds out to shortstop. Yamada makes the play, I should say. And then with 2 outs, it would be Dylan Moore, who pops one up to Schimpf, who makes the play in shallow center field, making the difficult play. Bottom half of the 6th inning now, Daniel Vogelbach draws a walk, and then with 1 runner on, the batter hits the ball right back to Jay Groom, goes to second with it, gets the lead runner, so then with a 1 on and 1 out, it would be Malik Smith swiping second base to get himself into scoring position. Keith Cloud then pops up to right field, and for whatever reason, Robbie Grossman does not have a strong arm, and they do not test him with Malik Smith's speed. So now 2 down, runner on second. It is Narvaez, who it's a line drive, and Robbie Grossman with a diving catch in right field. Spectacular play by the right fielder Grossman. Corey Guerin then comes on the top of the 9th for Seattle, trying to keep this game at 4-0, and he does a very poor job at that. Brandon Crawford going to the same part of the park that Gilberto Fuentes did, and it's going to be a solo shot for Crawford. Makes this game a 5-0 lead for the Giants. Then Robbie Grossman, ground ball over to shortstop, takes a bad hop on Addison Russell, skips up into the outfield for a base knock. So then with 2 outs, Aaron Altair is going into right center field. That's going gapping. Grossman's going to score all the way from first base as Aaron Altair has himself an RBI double, and the Giants now lead 6-0. Josh James comes in at a 9-save situation in the bottom of the 9th, and he would work a scoreless inning as he would get the batter to pop up into shallow outfield as the Giants win this game easily on the road over the Mariners in some interleague action. 6-0 is your final score. Jay Groom gets the win in his Major League debut. He went 6 innings strong, only gave up 2 hits, struck out 3, only walked 1, gave up no runs. Robbie Grossman gets Player of the Game honors. He was 3 for 5 in the day with a 2-run home run, also a couple singles. Gilberto Fuentes 3 for 4, Brandon Crawford 2 for 4, and even Kyle Seager had a hit against his former team in an RBI double. Before we hop into the second and final game of the episode, it is worth mentioning that the Giants have continued to play poorly in the sim, so we are now very much out of the playoff race, 14.5 games out of the wild card, sitting at 62 and 68. Also, not the only bad thing to happen to the Giants, as Buster Posey has been playing poorly as of late, and he has lost his lead on the batting title in the National League to a former teammate, now with the Philadelphia Phillies, who actually has the top OPS in the league as well, in Brandon Belt. There is good news, though, as Shane Peterson, who has been raking since coming up from AAA, is back from the IL. He was out with elbow inflammation. He is now back playing first base against right-handed pitching. Giants travel out to Milwaukee to take on the last place in the NL Central Brewers, who are sending out Brandon Woodruff for the 26th time this season, not having the greatest year for Milwaukee, and then opposing him will be the rookie right-hander in Sean Anderson with his long blonde hair. Giants lineup 1-9, there you have it, and then also the Brewers lineup 1-9. Start things off top half of the second inning. Ryan Schimpf leading things off in the inning, and he's going to pulverize a pitch into the right field seats, hits it off the front of the second deck. Ryan Schimpf not having the greatest of years, but he's still hitting those home runs. That is 20 plus on the year for him. And then Shane Peterson, next batter up. First pitch swinging, back from the IL, and he is swinging already. Back-to-back home runs for the Giants, and it's now a 2-0 lead thanks to 2 solo shots. So onto the bottom of the second, where Travis Shaw hits a ball down the right field line that gets into the corner. It's going to be an easy double for him as the throw from Ramos is not going to be in time. So runner in scoring position, nobody out. A pitch to Aguilar then gets away from Bart, who tries to throw down to third, but Shaw's in there safely. So runner on third, nobody out. Aguilar then goes down looking on the 97 on the black. And then a generous strike 3 call to Jurickson Profar gets him looking as well. So 2 down, runner on third, 1 strike away from getting out of this jam. But Orlando Arcia is going to deliver with a pitch fought off into right field, so the lead is cut in half to 2-1 now, but then after that, in the bottom of the third, Brandon Woodruff goes down swinging, also Lorenzo Cain, as Anderson had the strikeout pitch working in this game. Still 2-1 game. We move on to the top of the fifth, where Joey Bart, who's been on fire as of recently, hits the ball into the left center field gap, and that's going to get into the wall for extra bases, so Joey Bart on second base. Peter Mooney, the 5'6" hit machine, continues to hit at the major league level. A RBI single for Mooney makes it a 3-1 game. On to the bottom of the sixth now, where Christian Yelich is going to absolutely destroy a ball into the right field upper deck. A monster shot for Yelich makes it a 3-2 ball game, and that would be it for Anderson. As he comes out of the game, they could not get him through the sixth. Tanner Scott then comes on. It usually means trouble, but it is not going to mean it this time. He strikes out Travis Shaw on the fastball up and in, and then Aguilar would then ground out to second base for an easy out as Mooney makes the play. So still 3-2 game. Tommy Kahnle then comes on in the 8th inning to try to get them into the 9th. With one out, he would get a ground ball over to Schimpf at third base, makes the throw to first, and it pulls Mejias Breen off the bag. So a runner on first, then with 2 outs, Yelich hits a ball from foul territory. The jump throw gets Yelich with plenty of time. Somehow, Schimpf makes that play, and we go on to the top of the 9th where Jeremy Jeffress comes on. Shane Peterson continues to hit the ball well as this one's going into the left center field gap. That's going to be an easy double for Peterson. So he's in scoring position. Then Joey Bart at the plate. Pitch gets way away from Maldonado, allows Peterson to move up, and then Bart with a full count fights the ball off back up the middle. It would score the runner from third easily, make it a 4-2 ball game, so a 2-run lead for the Giants heading into the 9th. Reyes Maranta comes on, and that's more than enough for him as he would work 2 outs in the inning, then get a pop-up from Arcia, and the Giants win this game 4-2 over the Brewers on the road. And I continue to play well while the Giants in the sim continue to not play well. Shane Peterson was player of the game. He was 2 for 4 on the day with a home run and a double, scored twice as well. Joey Bart, 3 for 4, who's been on fire as of recently. Ryan Schimpf's only hit on the day was a home run, and Peter Mooney, who continues to hit, was 2 for 4 in this 4-2 lead or win for the Giants over the Brew Crew in Milwaukee. And with that being said, that is going to wrap things up here for this edition of the San Francisco Giants franchise. I've been your host, Jerseyborn, and I am saying, I wish YouTube didn't allow people to go around claiming anything that even resembles music, so I could still use less than 30 seconds of awesome music as my outros.